Hello everybody. So there's been so much interest in the comment section for me to cover Tempus AI, so I decided to do a full analysis for the channel. Let's go. Let's talk about Tempus AI. So Tempus AI, they position themselves as a platform, but it's important to know that they got started with genetics testing, precision genetics testing in oncology. That was the original business, and now they position themselves as a three-pronged business with genomics still being the main source of revenue, genomics test for oncology, but also over domains like neurology, etc. And now they also position themselves as data and a reseller of data, so they license the data to a big pharma company, all sorts of stuff like that, and they have applications now. So it's kind of a chat GPT for clinicians, for doctors, asking, hey, is this treatment appropriate for this patient? Is this trial appropriate for this patient based on their genetics testing? But this is still first and foremost a genetics testing company, even though their data and application business is growing much faster than the genomics testing division. So they bring the two of them together, data and diagnostic, and their Gen AI models built on that. They have some promise based on what they say, because not only do they have proprietary data, but they also can train those models on the data that they own. It's not just about being an AI, it's also about owning the data. And you can see this is an example of their platform with their 2,500 institutions that they work with and the data they've been able to amass. And then with that data, they're able to do some cross-match. They're able to do some analytics to better predict which therapy, which trial somebody with, say, an advanced cancer may be eligible for. So that's the business in a nutshell. So I'm going to walk us through all three main businesses. Now, the first business is, like I said, it's oncology genomics testing, but they've moved beyond now just that, because they do some algorithmic tests, they do monitoring assays, they do other stuff. But anyways, it's still mostly oncology. The next generation sequencing, NGS is what they call it. The Tempus NGS Plus is the product, and you can see they've been introducing different offers related to this product. And so XT, XR, XF, XF Plus, these are the main products, and clinicians can order these products for their patients. And so it's a DNA sequencing panel, DNA testing, and you can see because of the new products that we've implemented, they've been able to charge more per diagnostic. The average revenue per test now is $1,533. These tests are very valuable because they inform treatment and they help detect problems and issues, and inform treatment and help really the medical practitioner decide. The second business, moving on to the second business. The second business is selling the data to big pharma. But, it's really the researchers at these companies who want access to the data for their research, for their publishing, for their trials. And they have yet 900 million of contract commitments left. And they also have a retention rate with the data licensing. The clinicians reorder the data, they stick with the service. And so they have somewhat of a monopolistic business, it seems like, there, because they claim to have 95% of the big firms in that sector. Again, this is an insider sector. I am not an insider, so take everything I say here with a grain of salt. But they resell the data to big pharma for their trials, and that's the second business. And the third business is applications for clinicians, and this is where I think this is the most interesting. So, of course, you're a testing company, and you do your advanced genomics testing first for cancer detection. But then on top of that, you can build other apps, and so they build apps in pathology to look at biomarkers. They've built apps which may be only slightly related, but these ones are about applications in radiology. So radiology app, algorithmic diagnostics, right? Looking at insights, looking at correlation with other cases. And they have a clinical trial matching app And it's interesting, they're kind of getting out of the field. For example, they talk about how they can predict, now that they have millions of data rows, they can predict biomarker status based on ECG waveforms, which is very interesting. You know, could you license that to device makers like Apple? And so could you detect cancer just based on AI doing an ECG on you? To me, that's very interesting. These two parts are a very interesting part of a business. More interested in the applications for clinicians part rather than the data. It's you always. I mean, the data is very valuable, but like I said, I don't have deep insider knowledge into this. Anyways, let's move to the numbers now. Now that we have a general idea of the business and what the business is, as a reminder, it's mostly a diagnostics testing company. Mostly this genetics test, but then they build data and application on top of it and make money off of that data and off of selling those apps. So Genomics revenue is $116 million on Q3 2024. Data and services revenue, so the two other parts of the business, the apps, etc., that's $64 million. So that's the smaller part of the business. The bigger part of the business is the tests. But the tests are only growing at 24% year over year, while the data and services revenue accelerated 64% year over year. So the smaller side of the business is growing faster than the bigger side of the business. If you look at Q3 and you recalculate a blended gross margin, I'm getting to a blended gross margin of 58%. And for the purpose of this analysis, when I put it into my valuation spreadsheet, I'm going to use their guide. They're guiding for $1 billion in sales in 2024. So I'm going to use that number. And their forecast, their preliminary forecast for 2025 it should be plus 25% in revenue. And so, yeah, like I said, I'm using $1 billion in sales for FY 2024. That might be optimistic, by the way. They may do a little less than that. And I'm going to assume 24% growth because when I read the commentary on 2025, they say preliminary forecast from 2025 should be plus 24%. They don't specify revenue, but I'm going to assume they're saying they will have an outlook. They will do revenue of plus 24% next year, i.e. this year. And then positive adjusted EBITDA, I'm going to assume only slightly positive, like a 1% adjusted EBITDA is what I'm going to assume when I put that in my spreadsheet. So with these numbers, which are very early on, very preliminary, we don't have all of the data. They haven't reported Q4, but with these numbers, this is the valuation I'm getting. I'm getting a 0.65 on enterprise value over gross profit over revenue growth, and I am getting a 25 on the rule of 40. So if you follow this channel, you know that neither of these numbers are too exciting for me. Granted, it's cheaper than a lot of bigger, more mature companies in the field, sure, but there's a lot of small caps like this who are way, way, way cheaper and way, way, way more profitable. And so for me, like I said, the growth is a little too slow and it's a little too expensive, at least for these early stage companies, early type of investing. I find it a little too expensive, but that's just me. There's clearly a big AI premium on this one, and it's understandable, right? AI is in the name. Nancy Pelosi made the buzz for owning it, and so did Cathie Wood. Cathie Wood bought a whole bunch of this stock recently, and if you look at Tempus AI, it's 6% of ARC-G, 6% of ARC-G. So this may be the reason why this stock is a little pricey. When it was trading in the $30 range, it was definitely more interesting. But I find it quite expensive, especially when you consider that in the diagnostic space, they do have a few competitors. Twist Biosciences is one that comes to mind, although slightly different. But still, they do have competitors in diagnostics. So my point is, I'm not too interested. I find it expensive, but I understand why some people like it. Like I said, the business model is interesting and it's definitely a future-oriented business, but just not for me. So this was not investment advice. This is not financial advice. This is just entertainment. Please like, please subscribe, follow me on Patreon, follow me on X. Thank you for watching and have a wonderful, wonderful day.